Hey there, tarot lovers. Welcome to this full moon reading for December 2024. Yeah, the last full moon of this year. Now we've got the solstice coming up as well. Shortest day here in the Northern Hemisphere. We've got a 4-card reading with 3 court cards and 1 major arcana card. So it's quite a specific reading we have going on here. And it's a little bit gender specific in the way that we have 3 masculine figures to look at. The first 2 cards are these 2 reversals, and they come out in a pair, speaking about a certain energy. And then we have these 2 coming out. So we got 2 kings and this beautiful empress, this wonderful queen of receptivity. So let's dive into this reading and see what some of the messages can be, or what you can get. What are some of the wisdom that might come through these 4 cards and through this simple reading. So let me see if I can't bring a little bit of clarity. I just made a reading with a small group of people who joined me live to figure out what these cards were talking about, which was just beautiful. And now I'm making the reading for you to see. So these 2 cards coming up together, this reversed king and this reversed knight of swords, king of wands and knight of swords. So the reversals in general are going to speak a little bit about an exaggerated energy sometimes not just exaggerated, but maybe a tad egocentric. When I say exaggerated, a lot of the exaggeration of our energy comes when our ego is grabbing something, whether it's a sword or a cup or a wand, and wanting to own it a little bit too much so that it overcompensates for a sense of lack or unworthiness. And the ego sits and grabs these elements in order to project a certain amount of extra specialness that comes from a place of lack fundamentally. And so these 2 cards speak about a certain unworthiness which we try to overcompensate with this maybe charismatic king-like confidence that we show, that we feel sometimes, mixed with this ability to express and share ideas, truths, beliefs, and to bring that message of righteousness out into the world. And there's a certain amount of righteousness that is expressed by this king and knight sitting together, one on his throne and one on his horse. And this speaks a little bit about how sometimes we can be a little bit over passionate and overconfident about what we think is right and wrong, and what we think is the good things and the best way and the only truth, and what we think is a load of rubbish and a load of crap and doesn't mean anything, and anybody who believes in that is kind of stupid or ignorant or lesser in nature. So these 2 qualities, or these 2 characteristics and personality traits, join together to create a little bit of separation. Maybe this is a little bit of this energy of families coming together in the Christmas time, which is quite a common story, and us finding a little bit of conflict as we try to express our wands and our passion for life, or try to share our truths and what we believe in, and how some of those family members might not believe in us, might not really feel in sync or in tune, or even the slightest bit bothered or interested in what we're saying. And we'll share too much, we'll be a little bit arrogant, we'll be a little bit know-it-all in that story. We might even be self-righteous in a way which comes across as arrogant. And these 2 qualities, these 2 very masculine figures, can come across in an arrogant way. This is not talking about your arrogant uncle who's coming to dinner, who's going to just talk about himself all the time. Relate this to ourselves. This has to be relatable to who we are. This has to be relatable to our own nature. We have to own this story. We have to own how sometimes we are a little bit blind in the truth that we might think is important to share, and the one way of looking at life. So this night has a great ability to share and communicate beliefs and truths and ideas and intellectual wonderful to the world. And he's great at, he's a funny guy, he's very quick-witted and everything, but he'll jump at laughing at people. He'll jump at laughing at other people and not at himself. And he'll think that he's the smartest person in the room when he definitely is not. Or his smartness is based on a soul relationship to intellect. More it is emotional intelligence and empathy. And his smartness might involve ignoring the feelings of other people and ignoring the needs of other people, and he'll be delivering a message when nobody wants to hear it. And so that's not that smart, because he'll be wasting his breath when nobody even cares what he might be saying. And this is a story which we sometimes encounter in our lives, and we talk too much. We may drink too much, and we may consequently talk too much as well. We may eat too much, and then we'll over-express ourselves or over-share ourselves. The King of Wands, when he's reversed, is very similarly, he's a very strong character. He's got a lot of charisma, and he's very passionate about what is right and what is true and what is spiritually correct. He's not afraid to be seen, but he's a little bit twisted in what he's showing to the world. And sometimes when our ego jumps upon that wand, we'll find that what we end up shining a light on doesn't need to be spotlighted. And this might be something inside of ourselves, and it might be something inside of other people. We might be shining that torch on the world with the genuine intention to highlight what needs to be seen. But when we lack empathy, or when our torch shining expedition or when our torch shining antics are based upon what we think is important instead of what is actually important according to the energy of the space and energy of the people around us, unless we're empathic and conscious about what's going on about us, if we're really self-centered, self-focused, and just thinking about what we believe in and what we know all the time, then we'll be missing the point, and we may end up shining a light on stories that don't need to be seen. We may be trying to illumine a world that is not ready to be illumined, and this is not coming from a judgmental space, but it's usually coming from our inability to see aspects of ourselves that need to be seen. We may be shining a torch out there instead of in here. We may be pointing a finger that direction, calling names, when in reality it's more important to be humble and honest about what we might be calling ourselves on the inside. This is the masculine that is sometimes and very easily, quite honestly, out of balance and exaggerated and not favorably seen in the world. And it's good, interesting. One thing that came up in our group is we spoke a little bit about, about how the masculine can be seen to be the cause of a lot of problems in the world, and how there's a lot of people running around blaming patriarchal stories in the world as being the prime issues or the prime problems, and that's definitely what it appears to be, and I would have definitely agreed with this 10 years ago, but it's not black and white, and our relationship with the masculine is very much in tune with and correspondent to our relationship with the feminine. In other words, if we don't have a healthy relationship with the masculine, we're probably, no, we definitely have a not so positive relationship with our feminine as well. We may be rejecting some aspects of positive masculinity, but then we're rejecting some aspects of positive femininity too. We may be exaggerating some qualities of masculine in the world, which seem to be then extreme or extremified or exaggerated in the world. Well, on a similar level, will be probably exaggerating some forms of femininity in a negative way as well, inside of us and on social and cultural levels as well. And what we'll find is that it's a collective balancing of our interaction with both the masculine and the feminine that life is calling for. But the masculine is going to be the part that you see, because our relationship with the feminine is predominantly internal in nature. It's us with ourselves and our subconscious battling, and it's the hidden, it's the dark in nature, it's the occult, and it's the unseen story. And this is why you'll see that the hidden subconscious aspects of life, and even the tarot that speaks about the subconscious and speaks about what is normally not seen, and even those spiritual, all of the spiritual practices, the majority of people interested in this are women. And the majority of people are interested in this are women, because it's a feminine nature to go inwards. It's a feminine quality to go inside. It's a lot harder for a man to embody this femininity and go inside, because it goes against his outwardly projected nature. And so it's easier for him to be seen as the bad guy, which is not negating that there are unconsciousness in masculinity, but the unconsciousness in masculinity is going to be 10 times more visible than the unconsciousness of femininity, and our relationship as men and women to both of these stories. Well, that's a little bit of an aside, but something that comes into this reading, because the collective or the healing to this negative, rash Knight of Swords galloping to deliver his message with the arrogant overconfidence of this king sitting on his throne, thinking that he is, definitely embodying more truth than anybody else, and more awareness and more light than anybody else. And this knight that is that part of him that's backed up that confidence with a huge pile of intellect and the capacity to share in words that aren't coming out of my mouth right now. These two cards together, these two aspects of our personality, these two masculine outward going energies, where we might talk a lot, where we might be self-centered and express things that are just about me, and how important I am, are going to be balanced by these two beautiful energies. And this is a masculine and probably one of the most feminine cards in the deck. And this masculine quality, first of all, is the king who knows the duality of our minds, and how our minds are not black and white, but they desperately want to be black and white, and how our mind is going to hold on to one truth and call it the right one, and judge other things as the wrong one. But the king is so mature, he knows both sides of both sides. He knows the good in the bad and the bad in the good. He is aware of the duality of his mind, the duality that his mind is going to change. Is going to change from one moment to the next. That truth is a flux, interchangeable air-like story. First of all, it's kind of invisible, but the wind will blow this way one moment, and the next way the other moment, because he has the maturity to have seen some years go by, and to know that the truths that he once fought for as a knight, maybe arrogantly, maybe in a know-it-all fashion, are truths that he now has understood are not what he thought they were. He has seen both sides of the story. He's seen the duality that exists inside of his mind, and how every thought that he has is a transient story that is neither good nor bad inherently, that is subject to the meaning that we put on it, and consequently should not be judged as right or wrong. And so he sits there not in righteousness. He doesn't sit there in judgment. A little bit, the Queen has a little bit more of that, but he's laid back. He's got his sword just off to the side, and he's standing here going, yeah, whatever, I've seen it all before. He can see the truth behind the stories, and so he's not caught up in our external projection of what we think it is, because he knows there's a deeper story behind. He's in contact with the Queen inside of his court and inside of his bed, and he knows that he needs to hold space for all truths. He needs to be able to listen, but more importantly, he needs to be able to see and validate every single belief and understand that there is a place for everything, even the paradoxes, even the contradictions. He understands that each paradox, each contradiction, each conflicting viewpoint has a validity. And that validity comes hand in hand with this Queen. I call her a queen because she is like one, but she's bigger than a queen. She's the empress. This empress who sits there welcoming every single thing of life in, because she knows also this is number 3 coming after the 2 of the high priestess. And so she sits understanding the duality. I've embodied that. So now understanding the duality, my job is to embrace all of life and to recognize the beauty of it all. And she sees the beauty of everything, not just the apparently good things, but everything. She's that quality inside of us that receives an experience that might normally knock us out of our emotional balanced state of mind. It might normally not compute that it could be a good thing. She'll see it, and she'll see the beauty in it. And how can you see the beauty in that? It's so tragic, it's so wrong, it's so bad. No. The king says, no, nothing is so tragic and so wrong and so bad. Everything has a dualistic nature. Look at my sword, it's got 2 sides to it. I know that everything is all about change, and the good will lead to the bad will lead to the good. And she said, she just sees it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's working for me. Life is amazing. Life is bountiful. Look at these amazing experiences. But those experiences aren't good. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Those experiences are wrong. They shouldn't be the ones that we should be welcoming. I welcome it all, she says. She says, but hang on a minute. That doesn't help me. That's not all about me. That's all about somebody else. Welcome it all, she says. And she embodies this receptivity and our ability to just look at life and see how beautiful it is. If you just practice looking at everything, beautiful, wonderful, fantastic, beautiful, wonderful, fantastic. If you start throwing those ideas out there, if you're just sitting on your chaise longue, just imagine what you will be energetically attracting into your life, and the truth that comes from just the choice of seeing beauty, because it's a choice. It might be challenging, but with the help and the knowledge of this and of this wise King of Swords inside of you, you can see the beauty of all things. There is beauty to be seen in everything. If you choose to see it, it will be what you attract, and it will overpower the apparent masculine power of this reverse knight and king of wands and swords, and bring about a much more beautiful experience this festive time. I hope you have one, by the way, and I'd love to hear your comments down below. So throw me a like and whatever else, and tell me what's going on in your life this festive season. Much love to you all, and have a great Christmas.